Three, two. All right. So, hello again, everybody. And it's really nice to meet you guys. So, Daniel, Janice, Jordan, thank you very much for taking time out. I know that you've got probably a lot going on. And you introduced yourself just a little bit, so I'll do the same. And my hope is that when I tell you a little bit about what I do, maybe that will spark some questions or some conversation, about what my specific experience or background is, and I'd be happy to talk to you about any of those things. And then what we can do from there is I've got just a kind of a brief overview presentation about Capitol Police and what our agency does. And then a little bit about one of our specialized programs, which is the Wisconsin Drone Network. And so that will talk a little bit about what my role is and how that network covers the state and helps to find people who are lost or missing or fugitives or all that sort of thing. So with that said, again, my name is Lieutenant Chris Litzko, and I work for Wisconsin State Capitol Police Department based out of Madison. And so inside of the Capitol building is where our police department used to be located, but we're now located directly across the street. So if you've ever been to downtown Madison or been in the Capitol building, you've probably been right by our office. And I started with Capitol Police approximately 7 years ago. And prior to that, I was with the City of Jefferson Police Department as a patrol officer there for just about a year and a half. So you can probably tell from the gray hair that this is a second career for me. I spent about 15 years before getting into law enforcement doing other types of work, which was primarily based around selling advertising and working in like big corporate America type companies. And so I enjoyed that, but it wasn't very fulfilling. And I always knew that there had to be some career out there that was going to make me feel like it was my purpose and feel like it was something that I was built for. And I got involved or got interested in law enforcement and, went through all the work to get prepared and go to the police academy and, get hired at two different places, Jefferson and Capitol Police. And then from there, once I was at Capitol Police, I started off working third shift patrol and then went to second shift patrol. Then I became a detective, then a detective sergeant, and now a lieutenant. And so what all that means is basically, as a lieutenant, I oversee a variety of programs and areas within our agency. So those would include, I oversee our detectives unit. We've got 3 full-time detectives and a detective sergeant. So they do criminal investigations and assist the patrol with whatever investigations might come off of a traffic stop, or they deal with threats, they deal with white-collar crimes like fraud, theft, forgeries. And then they also work a lot with dignitary protection. So doing, gathering intelligence about various rallies and events or possible threats against people that we're in charge of protecting. So that's the detective unit that I oversee. I also oversee our canine program, which is we've got an explosives detection dog. So she's a yellow lab. She's not a German Shepherd. She's not trained to bite anybody. She just licks them to death, but she's got a very good nose. And so she goes around and smells for explosives. And she's actually really unique because she's not just a bomb dog, but she's also called a vapor wake dog. And what vapor wake means is if you've heard or read anything about the Boston City or the Boston Marathon bombing, that was where 2 people unfortunately dropped off pressure cookers and those detonated and injured and killed some people. But once those pressure cookers were dropped off, the people can walk away and leave the area so that they're not injured. Most bomb dogs are going to be able to smell the pressure cooker or whatever the device is that's been left on the ground and it's no longer moving, but they're not able to smell the person who left it there. And our dog does have that ability. So what vapor wake means is it's just like when you see a boat driving through the water, it makes that wake or that ripple behind the boat. Every one of us, when we walk around, we've got a vapor that follows us, and our dog is very sensitive and highly trained to detect various types of explosives that might be coming from somebody's body. So that's another one of my interesting duties. I also oversee our drone team, which we'll talk more about in a little bit. oversee our communications center. So that's all of our dispatchers. I also do specialized services. So that's like locksmith and access control. So when you walk up, I know MJ said she's in a hospital. So like when you touch a card reader to get a door to unlock, I've got somebody who that's all they do is deals with access control systems like that. And then I oversee a lot of administration. So really boring stuff like budgets and accounts payable, accounts receivable, how do we get the stuff that we need and pay people so that they keep giving it to us. So that's my overview of what I do and how I fit into Capitol Police. So before we move into the overview of the agency itself, Daniel or Janice or Jordan, do you guys have any questions about any of those areas, or have you guys ever thought about, canines or drones or detective, that sort of career path?
I'll watch.
I will take.
You guys can chat also. I'll
Yep,
watch that. And typically, Chris, every year during in-person Ready Camp, we usually have the dogs involved.
Okay.
Yeah, and the campers interact with the dogs. So Jordan has interacted with the dogs before in the past.
Yeah. Well, we'd love to be involved in that whenever the world returns to normal and we can go back to actually working next to each other.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if I'm able to, because I'm not very well versed in Zoom. Oh, I see there's a chat window here. I click on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I can see the chats. I wasn't able to see that at first. So
yeah. Oh, Damien's joining us too. Okay.
All right, excellent. And so now I will see if I can figure out how to share my screen. Looks like there's a share screen. It says host has disabled that. Do you have a way to let me put on a PowerPoint?
Sorry, yeah.
Hey, Damien, how are you? You can just wave if you want to.
Or chat.
Or chat.
Chris is watching the chat too.
All right, so I will share screen. Let me see if I can go to the PowerPoint.
Yep, there you go.
And all right, so you guys can hopefully see this. And I'll just kind of go through some of these details about our agency, because my goal is that I want you guys to be able to know a little bit more about Capitol Police, and ultimately I want to be able to answer any questions that you guys may have as well that's going to help you out through your program. So Wisconsin State Capitol Police, our objectives are, our main objective is to protect the integrity of state government. And what that means, for some reason these keep moving on their own, but hold on. Maybe it'll stay there. Or it's just going to keep transitioning for some reason. But so to protect the integrity of state government, what that means is that Capitol Police, one of the things that we do, I might have to stop sharing that in just a second here. And I'll just kind of talk through it. All right, hopefully you can see me again now. So what we do is, if you think about all of the different services in the state of Wisconsin, so you're familiar with, you've learned about, I'm sure, lots of different emergency preparedness agencies, whether it's police, fire, EMS, FEMA. I heard, I think Jordan said that you were involved in a FEMA program as well. And so you know what services that those entities provide. Well, the state of Wisconsin provides very similar stuff to what a lot of those places do, but they also do things like Department of Health Services and Children and Family and Department of Revenue, and a wide variety of services that your parents probably may participate in some way or another, whether it's through, they've got to pay taxes to the Department of Revenue, or if they win a lottery ticket, they've got to take it someplace, or if there's unemployment and people need to go file for unemployment, get their unemployment checks. Every single one of us on the call, if we were born in the state of Wisconsin, there's a record that's taken over to Department of Health Services that they keep the official copies of our birth certificates and marriage certificates and death certificates. So there's hundreds and hundreds of different services that the state of Wisconsin provides to its citizens. And in order to provide those services, there's about 40,000 people who work for the state. And those 40,000 people are not all located in a single city. So they're dispersed, a lot of them being in Madison and Milwaukee, but they're also dispersed around other areas, whether it's up north, closer to Michigan, or it's to the west side of the state over by La Crosse and Eau Claire. There's state office buildings located strategically all over. And Capitol Police is the police department for all of those 40,000 state workers. And just like if you lived in a community such as Madison, you would have Madison Police Department would be the primary people that you would call if you needed help. But then there's also the county sheriff. So in Madison, it would be Dane County Sheriff's Office could also help you. Well, if you work for the state of Wisconsin, you basically have a bonus police department, which is Capitol Police. And we ensure the safety and security of all of the state employees. So sometimes that means that it's just somebody is trying to cheat the state out of something. Sometimes it might mean a threat against the governor, the lieutenant governor, or maybe a judge. And we're the agency that handles that. So we ensure that the government can keep running, and we ensure that if there's a fire and people need to be moved to a different building, we assist with all of that continuity type operations as well. Because we are based right near the Capitol building, that seems to be a beacon for protests and rallies and special events. So you may have been to Madison before to visit the Capitol, and there's all kinds of things such as art fair on the square, concerts on the square, Taste of Madison, a whole variety of planned activities that take place that bring tens of thousands of people all to that very small area. And so that's where Capitol Police has to again come in and handle that and make sure that everybody is safe. In addition to those planned events, we also have a lot of unplanned or spontaneous rallies and protests that take place. So a few months ago, following the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis, you saw in the news, I'm sure, that there was huge protests and some riots, and unfortunately that turned into some criminal activity such as looting and burning police cars and some things like that. So we also spend a lot of time dealing with those types of things. And that's very complex because we got to make sure that people can come and exercise their right to free speech and have good conversations and to protest things. But we also have to make sure that there's not another group of people who shows up who's trying to do harm or, ram people with a vehicle or do anything like that. And so it's a delicate balancing act to make sure that we're protecting people's civil liberties and their freedom while also keeping them safe and rendering any aid that might need to come up. So that's a big part of what we do. Another thing that we do is dignitary protection. So the governor, whoever the governor of our state is at any given time, which right now it's of course Tony Evers, but whoever the governor is, they get a free place to live, a very nice house in a community nearby Madison. It's on Lake Mendota. And so that's called the Wisconsin Executive Residence. And it's basically a big white mansion. And so we've got officers who are stationed there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They never leave, or I should say, they get to leave and go home and other officers replace them, but we've got 24-hour coverage there. So whenever the governor and his family are at home, Capitol Police is in charge of protecting them. Whenever they get to the Capitol, Capitol Police again is in charge of protecting them. If they're actually traveling from one location to another, then State Patrol takes over and State Patrol drives them around in those black government-looking SUVs and does that type of work. So it's really a group effort for doing that type of dignitary protection. And as we talk here, I'm going to see if I can share the PowerPoint again, because maybe now it will move along appropriately. Share. Okay, so are you able to see the PowerPoint now? Okay, great. So the Madison Patrol Division, I won't put it in presentation mode. That way maybe I can control it a little bit better. But our Madison Patrol Division consists of first, second, and third shift patrol officers. So they go out and in addition to all the things that I just talked about, they go out and they actually do regular routine traffic stops. They're looking for safety violations where somebody might be speeding or driving recklessly or might be drunk driving. They respond to calls for service. So if there's a fight at whether it's a state building or at a bar or whatever it is. They respond to any types of shooting calls or threats or fires. So just like any local law enforcement in your community, Capitol Police has that type of a function as well throughout the city of Madison. And I've got just kind of a few pictures here that show a variety of different things, and I'll skim through a few of them. One of our big focuses is on community policing. So you can see in that top left picture, that's me on the left with Smokey the Bear. Down right below that, we've got some of our officers. That picture was just taken yesterday with the Milwaukee Brewer mascot teams. What's the name of those? Clement sausages, I think. I don't watch a lot of baseball, but anyway, they were up at the Capitol. And so we do a lot of outreach to make sure that we're engaging with the community that surrounds the state buildings, but also the community of employees that work within them. And so that's something that we're constantly doing. This is just a few photos of some of the special events that I talked about, including Concerts on the Square, which is the one in the top left. You can see that it brings a lot of people, sometimes 10,000 plus people all gathered into a very small area. And then in the bottom left, you see that's looking up at the Capitol from State Street during Freak Fest. So Freak Fest is a large Halloween celebration every year. This year, I'm guessing it won't take place, but that's usually a big one that we're involved in as well, working with all the other partner agencies around the area. The picture in the lower left there that just shows literally hundreds of thousands of people, that was during a big protest called Act 10 that took place in 2011. And there was a lot of protests associated with that, and that brought, like I said, hundreds of thousands of people to the Capitol. So you can imagine from an emergency services perspective how complex that is to manage that event and ensure that everybody is able to stay safe. And those protests lasted somewhere around 189 days, so over 6 months of that type of protest taking place in or around the Capitol. So that was a really historic event for us. Dignitary protection, I mentioned we do the governor and their family, but we also do any visiting dignitaries. So whether it's the Dalai Lama that you see in the top left, or Vice President Pence recently came, we work with the Secret Service to do that. And anybody who's coming to the area and going to be visiting the Capitol, we work to ensure their security as well. One of the things I love about working for Capitol Police is we get to do a number of things outside of regular law enforcement. So we do things like work at the Badger games. We've worked the PGA and Ryder Cup golf tournaments. We've been way up north working with the DNR, Department of Natural Resources, on things that they've got going on. Our officers get to move all around the state and do different things. So it kind of breaks up the level of boredom that can sometimes come with regular routine operations. About 5 years ago, we moved out of the Capitol and across the street, like I mentioned earlier, into the Risser Justice Center, and we've got a very large command post or command center. And that's just a couple pictures of it when it's empty. We have a lot of high-tech audio video capabilities. We've got hundreds of cameras around the area that we can all monitor from within that command post. And that typically isn't just filled with Capitol Police. That's usually a unified command post with City of Madison, Dane County Sheriff's Office, City of Madison Fire Department, State Patrol, DNR. So all of our partner agencies, we all get together in the same room so that we can actually look at each other and make decisions, and helps us have a better understanding of what everybody is doing, and it makes sure that we're all working together to achieve whatever our objectives are for that particular operational period. So on June 30th this year, we had all of those people I just mentioned in the command post because we were prepared for the George Floyd protests and rallies that we knew were going to be taking place that night. And it's now been, since then, it's been, 3 months of that command post has consistently had people in it running, just observing and providing services. So our command post has been busier in the last few months than what it's ever been in the last 7 years that I've been there. But it's developed some really outstanding partnerships and relationships as well. So that's been great. We do have also in Milwaukee, we've got an agency in Milwaukee based out of that state office building that you see there. And so we've got police supervisors and police officers there that do dignitary protection and patrol operations in Milwaukee. So that's another opportunity. And just a few more pictures of a variety of things, crime scene investigations and damage to property, auto accidents, anything like that are things that we do as well. A few photos from some training sessions that we take place with. So we're, like all police officers, we've got to constantly be training on how to effectively protect ourselves and protect others, as well as other types of training as well, like professional communications and de-escalation techniques, CPR and medical type courses. So we do all of those things. So before we move on to the drone network, I just want to pause for a few minutes, and if anybody, maybe I can bring the chat up again because I guess I don't see it anymore. If anybody has questions, they can certainly add them. So Daniel, I see that you didn't know about the dog thing. So yeah, that vapor wake dog is really interesting. Janice, I see that you're involved in FEMA, so that's really cool. I only wish, I'm so jealous of every one of you because I wish I would have been as smart as you are to like try and pursue some of these really worthwhile things when I was in high school. Instead, I waited another 20 years before I got my head on straight. So you're well ahead of me. The coolest special assignment that I've ever been on, Jordan, is probably, I don't know for cool factor. I would say it's probably involving the drone team. And back maybe 2 years ago now, there was a guy named, his last name was Jakubowski, and Jakubowski broke into a gun store in Janesville, Wisconsin, and stole like 30 or 40 guns. And then in addition to that, when he leaves the gun store, he puts a big manifesto, so like a huge diary, drops it into a mailbox and sends it to the President of the United States saying that he's going to kill him. So of course I had a lot of people's attention, and a big manhunt started to take place to figure out where Jakubowski went with all of these guns and what he was doing. And that manhunt continued to get larger and larger over about a 14-day period. And eventually, and of course the FBI and Secret Service and all kinds of local law enforcement and myself, we were all involved right away with trying to find where Jakubowski was. And my role in that was I was running a network of drone operators so that they could get out and work with the tactical teams to try and see, basically give them an overwatch or eyes above them so that they could see what was going on. And so the cool part for that operation for me was when FBI's hostage rescue team, the acronym is HRT. So when FBI's HRT showed up, it was really neat because HRT is a very elite group. They're made up of, most of them are former special operations or special forces people from the military. So they used to be Navy SEALs or Army Rangers or Green Berets or Delta or all of these things. So they're extremely well trained. They now work for the FBI, but they conduct similar style missions and operations as to what they did in the military. And so I got to basically get plugged into working with the HRT, including, briefing them on a variety of things, went out on operations with them, operating the drone. And so that was one of the cool things that I'll probably never get to do again in my career. But I enjoyed it and it was fun. And ultimately, Jakubowski was captured not far from where we had been looking, and it wasn't by any of us. It was some farmer spotted him camping in his field, and called the police, and he was taken into custody, and he's now, he's now incarcerated for those actions. Dan, I see, what important people have you had to transport? So that's a great question. One of my roles, I know that you joined just a few minutes after I did the full introduction, but I'm not one of the drivers who transports people around regularly. I have driven the governor before, but that was kind of a one-off type thing. So I don't have any good stories of people that I've transported. Mostly I'm the guy who's like either in the command post, kind of trying to oversee operations, or I am doing some type of specialty work, either with our detectives unit, our dog, flying a drone, coordinating efforts, all of that sort of thing. So unfortunately, not anything cool there as far as transportation. All right, any other questions? And Paul, I think you're still on, and MJ, if you guys have any questions, feel free to jump in as well, or any perspective.
Great, thank you.
Nope, thank you.
Yes, you bet.
Oh, one thing that I noticed, I wrote down here on my little notepad, is for the Ready Campers to see how many of our presenters have actually shown you different photos of different emergency operations centers, and how important that is to operating an incident and really managing that incident. So I just wanted to call attention because so many of our presenters have shown us different emergency operations centers.
Yeah, and that's a great point, and it really is so incredibly important. And that communication. So just the fact that you guys are part of the Ready Camp and you're taking this initiative. I have no doubt you've probably heard this. I hope you've heard it, but I have no doubt that the people that are in high school right now will be the greatest generation that our country has ever seen. I have a high school son, and I think that you guys are just smarter and more dedicated and more hardworking and have more like service in your hearts where you want to go and do things to help people. I'm excited about how all of that works. And the most critical component of anything that I've talked about or will talk about is just the ability to communicate with other people. And that's what the emergency operations centers and command posts are all about. And sometimes I have it so good that I start to forget that other places don't do it like we do. And so I'll get out in some other county and they'll have a command post, but it's just not being ran very well. And communication is all still siloed, basically meaning that people are in the same room, but they're not talking to each other very well. And so those things are incredibly important. And I'm not sure if you guys get any type of incident command system training, ICS training, but those things all really help to demonstrate how important those things are. And I'll also offer that if you are ever coming to Madison, you're always welcome. Please reach out to me. I'll give you a tour of our facilities. I'll show you some VIP areas of the Capitol. We've got a lot of neat things to show off, and I'd always be happy to do that for you. So I will move on then because I'm already running low on time, but I wanted to talk about one of the unique areas or things that the Capitol Police, that one of the things that we do that most people probably don't realize is in about 2015, I started putting forward a plan or an idea, something that I thought would work really well, which was going to be a drone network. And in my mind, what this was going to be was I was flying a drone then, and there were a few other people I knew, but it was pretty rare. And you actually, in order to fly the drones legally back then, you had to be an actual airplane pilot or helicopter pilot, like in the real world, before you were allowed to fly drones for public safety purposes. And so I got into it because I am an airplane pilot as well. And so I started flying drones. And I said, man, wouldn't it be cool if all of us who do have this capability, if we could somehow make our services available to surrounding areas as well? And what if we start like a call out process where if some some city or town needs a drone, but they don't have one, all they have to do is dial an 800 number, and we'll go there with our drones and fly and help them out. We won't charge anything. So that was where the drone network was born. And of course, there's been a lot of work in integrating and setting up this overall air coordination group. And so you can see our mission there is, just providing a network of trained, coordinated, highly capable pilots and available for response throughout the state. That's our mission. It hasn't changed. And so far we've been pretty good at it. And I'll jump into some numbers in just a second. The overall air coordination group that we're part of includes airplanes from Civil Air Patrol, airplanes from State Patrol, from DNR, like the yellow one that you see there, the U.S. Coast Guard, the one in the bottom right, they're part of that group. Wisconsin National Guard, that picture that you're seeing there is from the middle seats of a Black Hawk helicopter. And then that drone in the lower left, that orange and white one, is just one that's pretty much what we originally started off with, and we've now advanced into a lot of other equipment that's got thermal cameras and things like that. But that's the overall air coordination group. And again, it's people dial 1-800 number, they get a hold of Wisconsin Emergency Management, and from there, all of those resources are available. So if your little brother or sister went missing or fell overboard from a boat or canoe and you can't find them, and a search is going to take place, then these types of resources all come out to help with that. So we received our first call on the drone phone in October 2016, and we've grown. So it started off with just me as one person and a plan, and we've grown into over 135 pilots now throughout the state from 65 different agencies that all respond for free to help out any of the other agencies that are in their area. And so 24 hours a day, 7 days a week since 2016, I take the phone calls. So when somebody calls in to Wisconsin Emergency Management and there's air resources needed, then my phone rings. I get up along with my counterparts and we start the process. So that's been a really neat thing that we offer. We've flown over 170 real world missions since then. We hold hands-on training sessions very regularly. Now with the coronavirus and COVID, that's been unfortunately hindered quite a bit, and I'm trying to find good ways virtually to continue to train our pilots, but that is a big component of the drone network, is that we've got a lot of training. And in addition to that, we've helped many other agencies across the state. We don't just go out with our drone. We also help them set up their own program once they decide that that's what they want to do. So some more statistics here. We've assisted lots of different agencies, from FBI to U.S. Marshals, ATF, Air National Guard, all kinds of people. We've taken over 15,000 photos, and a lot of those are referenced like flood damage or tornado damage that takes place in our state. The faster that we can document the level of damage that there is, the sooner the governor may declare a state of emergency, and then the sooner that the federal government may declare a federal state of emergency. And those declarations are very important because it means that there's additional resources in the way of either money or personnel or equipment that become available. And so by flying the drones and running that network, we've been able to do a lot of really good things. So that's the drone network. That's actually my last slide, is I just wanted to kind of give you guys a little bit of an overview of what that is and how that works. And I also want to say that one of the things that I tell my team and the sergeants who report to me is, I say, listen, there's nothing more important to a company or an agency or an organization than great people and the ideas that they bring to the table. And I'm always amazed at the ideas that people have or the way that they do things that I've never thought of. And so I would just encourage you and challenge you as you're thinking about things. Don't ever think that something is too big or too insurmountable to actually do. If you're like, hey, I would like to start, I think that this would be a really helpful program, and I think it would help benefit my community. I think that you have all the resources in the world available to reach out to through the Ready Network or or any of your other instructors or counselors to help get things going. So I will again pause and check the chat box here, see if there's any other comments.
Actually, Chris, I just want to make a comment. This is Paul. I think you all met one of the other former Ready campers. Was Josh presented early on, right, MJ?
Yeah, he created a video during the fire
Right, yeah. So
week.
Josh Larson started off as a Ready camper, spent 4 years there, and then was a camp counselor for a couple of years, and now he's I know you know him, Chris, and he's part of your drone network, but
Yeah.
he got his start through Ready Camp.
Yeah, that's amazing. And when and I'm not surprised actually, because whenever I've met Josh and have worked with him, he's an impressive young man. And he's one of those people that just he's got his head on straight. He's got that linear thinking. He's making things happen. And so I'm not surprised that he started off, at a young age doing that. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and they, all of our Ready campers do have community projects that they are encouraged to work on and to implement. And so, so perfect, they could do something related to the information that you shared with them. So that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, if there's ever anything that I can do to assist or to show you or answer questions about, state police or Capitol Police, I'm happy to do so. And what a great opportunity for all of us.
Excellent. Thank you. Does anyone have any more questions for Chris? Okay.
All right. Well,
Bill
thank you.
Bill Tyler yesterday gave them a challenge to develop a recruiting activity. So they can do a poster or Damien has done TikTok videos for us for recruiting efforts. And we've had some excellent posters and things like that. So
Yeah,
we'll share them with all of you from the law enforcement background.
yeah, I saw that. I saw that challenge. I think I must have seen it on the YouTube video or something, but
Yeah.
or I saw it posted somewhere that you guys were making some posters, and I think that that's great. And right now is a tough time for law enforcement, and it's a challenging career. And unfortunately, I'm seeing some very good friends and people that have been doing it for 15 or 16 years, and they're looking for other jobs now. And it's one of those things where we need young, bright, dedicated people to take it over, because maybe it's going to be one of those careers where people don't do it for 30 years anymore because it's such a challenging thing, and if that turns out to be the kind of the way of the future, where people are cops for 10 years and then they move on to something else, it means we're going to need even better recruiting, and it's going to be more important to get the people coming into the door the first time around. So I look forward to seeing those posters.
Yeah, so that just really should motivate every one of you to create a poster, PowerPoint, TikTok video, whatever you would like to do. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much. It was my pleasure. It's an honor to always speak to you and to meet new people. So thank you, Paul, for reaching out. That was very kind of you, and I appreciate it.
I very appreciate you doing it, particularly on short notice. So thank you.
You bet. You guys all be safe and be healthy, and I'll see you some other time.
sounds
Thank
great.
you, and thank you for your presentation.
You're very welcome.
And so tomorrow, everyone, is going to be another great presentation. It's going to be Wisconsin Help Me Conservation Warden. And so that's going to be they've got an excellent video that they're going to share with you about their work, and all about, like the in the natural setting, out in the
In the wild, out in the wild.
Out in the wild, yes. So that's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to listening tomorrow too. So, all right. Sounds good. And just wanted to update everyone also on like the contests and everything. We are going to have, I'm going to send out an email to ask when would be a good time to have a Zoom like banquet to celebrate all your efforts throughout the whole Ready Camp. And so we will give the awards away then. So we're going to keep you in suspicion until then to see who won like the t-shirt contest and the firefighter recruitment posters, and now we have law enforcement recruitment posters and stuff too. So so that will be either on Friday of next week or possibly the weekend afterwards. We'll see what will work best for you guys, okay? And oh, sorry, that's a thing for work. Yeah, and Janice said, yeah, CPR poster too. So, yep, get all your work in next week then. And by the end of next week, I will, sometime either this weekend or this week yet, I will put together a list of all of the different activities that have been offered so that you can go ahead and put them together if you're interested and submit them. Okay? All right.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right,
Have a great
thank you,
evening, everyone.
You too.
And good luck with school, Jordan.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.